SABC News correspondent Trent joins us now live from Tel Aviv in Israel with the very latest update. Trent, a very good afternoon to you. I mean, everything is happening so fast. There is now much anticipation of Israel's retaliation following Iran's attack on the hospital in southern Israel. Give us details around the scale of this attack and what the picture is on the ground.
Well, we know that the air raid sirens sounded here in Tel Aviv and also in the south at just after 7 a.m. local time, and we are being told there was around 30 ballistic missiles fired in that wave. Now, we did see several impacts here in Tel Aviv, not far, about 15 minutes from where we are here, not too far from the centre of the city, where apartment buildings and some office buildings were also damaged. We also know, of course, so much of the focus is on that Soroka hospital because that is in the city of Beersheba. It's the biggest hospital in southern Israel, a major health facility where we are again seeing scenes of pretty significant destruction from that impact. As you rightly said, the hospital is saying that it was just yesterday that they evacuated the surgical ward of the hospital amid this war, and it seems that that is a decision which has saved many lives here. The Prime Minister went and visited the site earlier today where he has said that Iran is going to pay a price for targeting civilian infrastructure in the hospital. I should also just mention before coming on air, we heard more sirens, not here in Tel Aviv, but in the north, in Haifa. That is Israel's third largest city. We are just seeing the initial reports, no immediate signs of impacts or casualties. They're saying around 10 Iranian missiles were fired towards Haifa in the past 10 minutes or so.
And I mean, there's also, Trent, a lot of uncertainty at this point in terms of America's involvement now at this particular stage. I mean, with President Trump still weighing his option, Trump has been shifting a lot about the country's position, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, his position seems to be moving very quickly. I mean, just last week, he still seemed to be at the stage of offering negotiations to the Iranians, and now he's saying he's after their complete surrender. I mean, there is a big question mark here, and I think right around the world over what he will do. Perhaps that is part of the strategy here, a bit of strategic ambiguity on his part to try and keep the Iranians guessing. I mean, what we do know is that the Americans have been moving large numbers of military assets into this region, about 30 refueling aircraft, for example, the types of planes you would use to refuel other fighter jets in the sky as part of air attacks. We know they are beefing up their naval presence as well, and they've also put bases in the region on high alert amid fears that American troops could be targeted if indeed the president decides to join the Israeli air campaign. I think, you know, I guess it's very difficult to see where we go from here, but what I guess we can say fairly confidently is that the president appears to be keeping this option on the table and is moving all of the pieces into position if indeed he wants to hit go on that operation and join the Israeli air attacks across Iran.
There have been an escalation too on calls for a cessation between Israel and Iran. We are hearing of this phone call between Russian President Vladimir Putin as well as Chinese President Xi Jinping during this telephone call that they've had today, agreeing that the Iran nuclear issue can only be solved from a political or diplomatic means. Just give us a sense in terms of just the reaction from global leaders at this point.
Yeah, well, we know President Putin also has told the press that Iran hasn't requested Russian assistance during its defense. He said that the Iranians are saying that they're able to defend themselves. Of course, they do have a cooperation agreement between them. It doesn't compel Russia to come to Iran's aid, but there are defense links there. We also know, of course, that meeting is taking place tomorrow in Geneva, and I think that's going to be quite significant between the foreign ministers of Germany, the UK and France, as well as, of course, the EU's foreign policy chief. They're going to be meeting with their Iranian counterpart to try and discuss a path forward here. Of course, all three of those countries and the EU, key allies of the United States. Perhaps during that meeting with the Iran foreign minister, they'll be able to convey a message back to President Trump. But then I guess there is a broader question here over whether he's willing to listen to the Europeans right now. Certainly they are exercising caution and are calling for calm somewhat, but there's just things are moving so fast here, as you can probably see. You know, one wonders whether even before that meeting takes place tomorrow, there could be yet more escalation, just given what we are seeing here from both sides.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what Israel is saying. I mean, we're hearing that the defense minister also, saying that Iran's supreme leader can no longer be allowed to exist. We understand, of course, this is also something that has been said as Israel's main strategy in this particular war. Does it give us a sense of how Israel will particularly retaliate, following this latest attack? Do we know at this point in time what the country's strategy is?
Well, their strategy continues to be maintaining air dominance across Iran. They say that they have now taken out most of the Iranian air defense systems and have got freedom of navigation to fly their fighter jets across much of the country, and we've seen them exercising that seemingly with fresh strikes being reported on several nuclear facilities across the country. We of course also know that they are using strong rhetoric, particularly in the wake of what we saw this morning with those new attacks. The defense minister has said that the Ayatollah can no longer continue to exist and has described him as a modern day Hitler. That just to me shows that up the sort of escalation ladder, the rhetoric is continuing. The Iranian deputy foreign minister, we should also mention, has been warning the US not to get involved, saying that will force Iran to have to respond to any targets in the region. That was a hint, I think, at the fact that there are around 40,000 American soldiers here in their bases in places like Qatar and Bahrain and other places, and you would imagine that they will be on high alert right now amid fears that if the president decides to join the Israelis, then those US troops could be drawn in with missile attacks on them from Tehran.
Trent, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for that update. Trent Murray reporting live there for us from Tel Aviv, as we continue, of course, to give you updates on the very latest in this Iran-Israel conflict.